What is going on, guys? Welcome to a brand new episode entitled The Beginner's Guide, whereas I'll be taking one Pokemon and discussing with you all what its use is and kind of viability competitively. And when I say competitively, I don't mean laddering. It could mean laddering. You could take this in that respect, I guess, but it's more so gauged towards the competitive scene, whereas you so counter league format, so drafting Pokemon, you have it on your team for a total amount of battles, whether it be 8 or 10 or 12, and then eventually you take to playoffs and then finals. That is in essence what I mean. In this week, I'll be using Seismitoad. Seismitoad was suggested by a good friend of mine, Tom. Tom, who we battled week 1 of the PTL. I was discussing with him earlier on Discord, and he decided that, we decided that Seismitoad would be a good Pokemon to use. And in these episodes, to kind of gather whether they're viably good for you, in essence that's your decision, but I'll be going over some of its stats, why I think they're good or why I think they're bad, its move pool, and what some of the kind of typical sets that you will see it run and what you'll have to prep for and what you can in essence bring to most matches if you do decide to draft it. And also the kind of biggest aspect is the for and against of drafting Seismitoad. In essence, for you to decide whether the for outweighs the against or vice versa. So jumping into the stats, some notable things. Firstly, I mean, Seismitoad you'll typically find in a draft league is a relatively low tier Pokemon. So whether it's a points based system you use or whether it's a tier based system or a colour based, in which we use in the PTL, you'll find, or no, not colour based actually. We'll go with points based or tier based. Seismitoad is a low tier pick. So I believe he's NU. So yeah, you'll pick him up for a relatively low amount, so he won't be one of your high tier picks like your Landos, your Volcanions, your Caldeos, those kind of things. And some kind of nice points to mention, I guess, is that Seismitoad has a lot of viability in every role, whether it be physically offensive, physically defensive, or specially offensive and specially defensive. Has natural bulk in 105 HP. Its speed leaves it to be one of the low tier picks in my opinion, and also I mean it's kind of average stats for a Pokemon, but the fact that it can be viably used in any of those roles. I mean, offensively we'll kind of get onto that, but defensively definitely, especially in counter league where you're prepping for certain Pokemon and what you want it to kind of counter and check and that kind of thing. You can bring it especially defensive. You can invest enough in a certain amount to take certain hits from Pokemon. It's viable from that perspective, but in terms of speed, we'll kind of get onto that because its ability kind of brings that into a good perspective, in my opinion. But yeah, those are the stats. Kind of moving on into the move pool. I've put here some kind of notable moves looking through its move pool in terms of some of its most powerful plays, and also some of its most powerful moves, and also some moves which are super effective against some of the Pokemon that threaten it, because that's obviously a good point to kind of bring up. One of the things I've actually failed to mention is Seismitoad is a Scold. You'll find that Scold competitively is one of the most, Scold and Knockoff are two of the most used moves competitively. And this thing gets water absorbed, so I think it gets 25% of its health back from water-based attacks. So switch it into a Scold, or it'll hinder your opponent clicking Scold. That's kind of the idea. Hydro Pump, a more powerful special move, which mostly used on offensive teams. Earthquake and Earth Power, so physical and special ground-based attacks. Poison Jab and Sludge Bomb, so both physical and special super effective moves on bulky on grass types. Low Kick and Focus Blast, just two kind of fighting type moves against I guess steel types, but I mean you do have ground type attacks, but I mean if it's steel type with Air Balloon, you obviously, or you expect Air Balloon, then fighting type moves are obviously a good thing to bring. Grass Knot, because hitting water types or against, say, like Suicune or someone like that. I mean, Grass Knot won't do a major amount, but you can't really touch him with anything else. So, and also Knockoff. So, as I said, Knockoff's one of the most used moves competitively. So, and also kind of ladderings. So it's nice that it gets Knockoff as well. And most of the time, I mean, it is one of the most used moves on Seismitoad, but competitively you don't expect it, because a lot of people, because it's low tier, they don't necessarily look into the move pool and that kind of thing. So Knockoff, especially on that, well, mainly on the defensive set, is a great thing to bring in. It makes your opponent think twice about what to bring in, because Suicune does not want to lose his leftovers. Naturally, I thought I'm going to do some typical sets that people will bring. I did want to also bring some what Tom would call dank sets, so sets that you don't necessarily expect that they don't expect that that are really, I don't know what to say, they just don't expect. And realistically, offensive Rain Sweeper is probably of that. You'll mainly see him as a defensive set because of his speed, and you also have to fit Seismitoad on a rain team to take advantage of Swift Swim, which doubles his speed. So yeah, kind of jumping into the defensive set. Stealth Rocks is a move which I didn't mention on the notable moves, but Stealth Rocks, one of the most used moves on this guy. Earthquake's gold knockoff, typical physical and special hits, special stab, should I say, and also knockoff, like I said. It's a good move to have on a defensive set. Max HP, max defense or special defense, whichever one you prefer. Leftovers, typically, I can't remember the name of the grass move, reducing berry. That could also be an item to use on this set. But again, one of the things which I'll get onto is this thing has no reliable recovery. The beauty of it is that it gets water absorbed, so it can kind of take advantage of 25% health back, but like I said, it kind of hinders people clicking Scald as well, so that's not guaranteed. Typical nature is bold, for a more physically defensive, and relaxed for a more specially defensive nature, and also water absorb. You can run Swift Swim on a defensive set if you like. That could be a thing, but realistically most of the time it's water absorb, so you can get some kind of health back by leftovers. And the second option, viable option, is the Rain Sweeper with Hydro Pump Power, Sludge Wave. No, not Sludge Wave, it's Sludge Bomb. I don't know why I've put Sludge Wave in there, but it is Sludge Bomb. And also Rain Dance to as a secondary option. I mean, you will end up drafting Politoed, but let's say you don't have Politoed on your team, he was picked before you or something like that, then I'd probably suggest not picking this guy if you want to run him offensively. But Rain Dance is on there as a way of getting up that Swift Swim. Max special attack, max speed, to take advantage of those. I think you could run a physical one, but physical water moves on this guy are pretty limited, or limited to none. Typically Life Orb, run specs if you so please, but again, you'll probably need to be switching up your moves to take advantage of it's bulky grass types and things. You can't touch them with anything else. And then ability Swift Swim, modest, timid, especially offensive, timid to take advantage of speed. So yeah, jumping on. Biggest aspect, like I mentioned, in my opinion, is the for and against of drafting Seismitoad, something which you can kind of weigh up. Here's some that I kind of spent a little bit of time putting up. On the for side, actually putting together the for side actually was a lot quicker than the against, which kind of made me think, why have I personally not, I know I'm kind of hypocritical here, but why have I never drafted Seismitoad before? He's been drafted in probably 8 out of 9 of the leagues that I've ever been in. I've been against him. He's a tough cookie. He can be really threatening. But kind of for move pool allows answers for biggest threats. So like I said, with Sludge Bomb, he's two times stab attacks. So you can beat out those steel types. Stab Scald, always nice, like I said, unless the opponent's also got a water absorb Pokemon. Like I said, Scald's one of the most used moves in the game, so to have a Stab Scald is always better obviously. You can run, so it has a lot of viability from both sides of the spectrum in terms of special and physical, and also offensively and defensively. So that's the big thing about competitive Pokemon is drafting Pokemon with a lot of different options to bring to each game. So if you one day want to bring Swift Swim to absolutely sweep a team at the end of a game, then you can do that. If you feel like you need to have an answer for a Talonflame, you can do that. It all depends on the situation. That's why it's called Counter League format. And lastly, Stealth Rocks. It gives a lot of teams only have 2 to 3, 4. The more Stealth Rockers, the better. But Stealth Rocks on this Pokemon is obviously brilliant, and competitively, Stealth Rocks are pretty clutch in most games. Against the 4 times weakness to grass is an obvious one, but it can be worked around. It has, like I say, move pool answers to check those, and you can also naturally on a team you'll in competitive use you'll draft Pokemon which can answer to those that, say, Seismitoad, if you built around him, can't beat. So someone like Tornadus T is a notable one because it's a very, very fast Pokemon, and in the rain it also gets 100% Hurricanes, I believe it is. Next one, Rain Dance needed to be offensively viable. Yes, because it's very slow. 74 base speed leaves a lot to be undesired. Ferrothorn, Mega Venusaur are typically always drafted in Elite format. So having a Fire type on your team, Fire type or a Psychic type, or I don't know if there's both Fire Psychic. I can't really think on the top of my head, but yeah, as long as you got answers for those, then the against isn't that you know, tough to work around, I guess. And also no reliable recovery, which realistically should be at the top, because if Seismitoad got reliable recovery, this thing will be insane. OU all day, every day. So that's kind of it. Kind of it again with Seismitoad. Personally, I think in a future league I will draft this guy, because going over some of his stats, move pool, and for and against, for me personally, it really has gave some good insight into how good this Pokemon can be if used effectively. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. I'm actually going to jump into a battle or two now, depending on how long this was. So yeah, I'll talk to you guys then. Right, so I'm back with the battle. So team I built, I used the offensive Seismitoad to kind of be a little bit different, I guess. I wanted to be a little bit more entertaining, I guess, than just a defensive playstyle. But we got Seismitoad, Live Orb Hydro from Earth Power, Sludge Bomb instead of Sludge Wave because I like the 30% chance to poison, and also Rain Dance as an option in case. Well, I mean, I could change Rain Dance realistically. But I'm actually not going to. There's no point now. So we've got Politoed to set up the rain. Damp Rock allows for 8 turns instead of 5. Drizzle sets up the rain. Scald, Toxic, Ice Beam, Rest. In my opinion, you need this guy on your team if you draft Seismitoad, but also, like I said, it's got a lot of viability, even without this guy defensively and those kind of things. Tornadus T, like I mentioned, hit. Weakening those grass types is definitely something which is very important for a Seismitoad sweep. Hurricane Superpower U-turn. Knock off. Why did I have 2 Hurricanes? So this team was kind of just thrown together. I really just wanted to make sure I use Seismitoad enough to show off to you guys. Then we got Raikou, some Volt Switch Momentum. T-Bot Volt Switch in Burrow Ice and Shadow Ball. Then we've got Klefki. Prankster Rain Dance is the reason as to why, especially defensive wall as well. And then we've got Kincalda, the final Pokemon for the likes of Chansey and Blissey and all the kind of normal defensive walls that need to be broken down. So we'll jump into a battle and see how it goes. Let's hope we can find one quickly. Right, so straight into a battle. I see Mamoswine, Mega Blastoise maybe. I see a Skarmory, Talonflame, Raikou. I anticipate probably the Mamo lead, but let's kind of Do we just want to lead this guy straight away? I notice we don't actually have anything for bulky. Well, we got Raikou. Has he got any ground types? No, let's lead Raikou. Probably Volt Switch out of there. So he leads his Skarmory. He has actually got Mamoswine. It's his chance. I don't know if Mamo has rocks, but I'm just going to go straight for the Volt Switch. If he goes to Mamo, then yeah, he got me good. Which is fair enough. Can't really complain about that. Is he going to set up his rocks, maybe? Let's go into Conkeldurr. Let's force this thing straight out. So he goes for an EQ. This thing obviously will outspeed me. Let's go for a Mach Punch. Super effective, 58%, obviously. And he finishes off my Conkeldurr, which is fine because it doesn't really answer much. Tornadus. Could be a thing. I could also go into Politoed. So he's got a Breloom. I mean, probably needs to start getting rid of that first. Force it out, but let's go into Tornadus. So go for U-turn. So I think he probably still sees viability in this with a Raikou. Weakness Tornadus T. Ice, Rock, Electric. Yeah, he's pulled it up. So he goes out into his Raikou. So I don't know if this guy's a bit of an amateur. We get a crit on the U-turn. This is actually probably a chance to go out into Seismitoad. I don't anticipate him carrying much, but shall we just go for a Scald? Or should we go for a Sludge Bomb? Let's go for a Sludge Bomb, in case that Breloom wants to actually come in. If the Blastoise comes in, then so be it. He could go out into his Skarmory, actually. So it's obviously immune to... Ooh, should we go for a Hydro? Let's go for a big Hydro Pump. So you'll see that I'm Life Orbed. He's gone out into Breloom. Whoa, that did a lot of damage. Wow. I know Breloom's not that brilliant, but you know, that's actually insane. Let's go into Klefki. See what he goes for. So he goes for Bullet Seed. We're gonna eat that up. Unless it's a 2. Yeah, he gets 2 hits. So now is he gonna do the weakness Klefki thing? I don't know if you guys can see that on the screen. Actually, yeah, you can. Just come up. T-Wave. Could I see him going on? So if he goes into Talonflame, that's brilliant. So yeah, he does do the weakness Klefki. Weakness is Fire Ground. So if he goes into Talonflame, we'll get a T-Wave off. Let's get a T-Wave off. So he goes into Skarmory, which is fine. I'm not weak to your Steel type attacks. Let's go for a Rain Dance. He might just want to set up his rocks. He's paralysed. Let's now finally get to see the use of Seismitoad. Hopefully. Double paralysed. Double paralysis. Hydro Pump's my play. Brings him down to Sturdy. That's insane. He sets up spikes. Let's go for another Hydro Pump. Wow. I know this thing's a physically defensive wall, but my days. That was insane. So Breloom could go for a Mach Punch, but I do actually outspeed this thing, so I'm just going to go for a Sludge Bomb. Perhaps he's new to the game, which is fine. It's just showing off the use of Seismitoad. But you just saw there how much it did to Skarmory, how much the switch into Breloom it did on the what did he Hydro Pump on? Been at work all day, so my mind's not in the right place. So he's going back into his Blastoise. I don't know what this thing carries, but I'm just going to go for a Sludge Bomb. Get a poison on the Blastoise. So he clicks Scald. See, that would have been useful to have Water Absorb, and that was obviously kind of new on his behalf. Raikou's a play. He's probably going to go back out into his Mamoswine, which makes me actually want to click Shadow Ball. Should we click Shadow? Let's click Shadow Ball. See if he goes back out into his Mamoswine. I've really showed off the use of Seismitoad, but there's no way I'm stopping a game halfway through just so I can show you Seismitoad. I don't want to show you how the rest of the team does now that Seismitoad's got rid of 2 of his Pokemon. Come on. What are you going to switch into? You've got 30 seconds before I decide to end this video, dude. There we go. So he goes into Mamoswine, we click the right move. We kill off the Mamoswine. So staying in there would have probably been better for him. Knowing that I'm probably not going to go for Volt Switch considering we went into Mamoswine last time. So yeah. So he goes out into his own Raikou. Might be a speed tie, might not. Don't really want to go out into anything, but let's just go for another Shadow Ball. I need this thing actually to deal with. Let's go into my especially defensive wall. See what he goes for. He goes for Aura Sphere. Interesting. Obviously can't T-Wave this thing. Now that he's seen me go for T-Wave. So is he going to go out into his Talonflame? Go for Play Rough. He goes for a T-Bolt. Does he get a Para? Yeah. So we get some damage off with the Play Rough. Whoa, that does a lot. Time to sack off the... I mean, the Clefty could be useful with a Pranks to T-Wave on the Talonflame. But Raikou resists it. I mean, Raikou kind of wins this game. Hands down. Just getting rid of that Raikou would be... let's get some Spike. Oh, he's got East. Oh, wow, we live on one. So we get some spikes up. We can actually get a second layer up as well, or get we can get a T-Wave off on one of these. The Blastoise. So what do I value T-Wave more. So he goes for a Rapid Spin. So he gets rid of the spikes. Let's just hope he kills me off this time. Yes, he kills me off. So why did I set up spikes actually? Probably because the Blastoise both of them outsped me, and that was just a stupid play. Time to go out into Raikou, start clicking T-Bolt. I do resist the Brave Bird, and I don't know if he'll outspeed me, but T-Bolt's my play. Kills off the Blastoise, and let's see what the Talonflame's got. So is he going to click Brave Bird? This is a Specs T-Bot coming your way if you don't kill me, and I anticipate you probably winning. So he outspeeds, goes for Flare Blitz. Come on, it's obviously going to kill. So yeah, there we go. I hope that demonstrated to some extent the power of Seismitoad offensively. I could show you a game defensively, but that's just going to drag this video on even longer. But yeah, I'm going to carry these on. I think it's a good idea. I think people will kind of learn from these. The problem is when I was getting into the competitive scene, I didn't find many videos like this in terms of so you'd see a Pokemon, you'd think it's low tier, oh, that's going to be rubbish, but seriously there are some great low tier picks, i.e. Seismitoad, and there's a few others which I kind of want to work on. So if you have any suggestions for which Pokemon I should kind of cover in these videos, then drop the comment down below. But apart from that, guys, drop a like if you did enjoy it, and any constructive feedback would be extremely valuable. And yeah, I genuinely hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next episode, guys. Bye bye.